the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Monday edition of Chasing That Paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. So coming off another winning show with Ian on Friday. So that's 4 straight profitable Football Friday programs from Ian McMillan and I. We got a big one coming up today. Of course, we got Monday Night Football. We have a winner-go-home game in Major League Baseball and a full slate of action in the NHL. And the NBA starts up tomorrow. We're getting busy around here. I'm very excited to bring in a very special guest, one of my best buddies. You know him from his work over at the Action Network. Gentleman Gilles Gallant, G-Dog 5000. Let's bring him in right now. My man, week 6 here, but to wrap up. So how is the week treating you so far?
So far, touchdowns are just hard to come by. I literally just tweeted this out that we're seeing a very low amount of touchdown scores through 6 weeks. For example, there's about 590 that were scored in 2020, 540 after 6 weeks in 2021. Right now, we are down to about 450. So seeing a huge difference here, but I still do like some touchdown scores in Chargers Broncos, despite the Broncos having to be on primetime again for the 4th time in 6 weeks.
Yes, sir. We're going to be getting into those here momentarily. Gilles has his 3 favorite touchdown scores for tonight's Monday Night Football game. I have my spread pick. I have a pick for Guardians Yankees, of course, and a nice stop in the NHL. So that's enough small talk. Let's get right into the action. And we're going to start things off with this Monday Night Football game. And I'm on an ugly one tonight. I'm going to take the Broncos plus 4.5 versus the Chargers. So big reason for this one, huge gap between these teams defensively. Entering the week, Denver top 6 in yards per play allowed, opponent third down conversion percentage, opponent red zone TD conversion percentage, and generating pressure. The Chargers, meanwhile, in the bottom half of the league in all of these categories, most notably ranking 29th in yards per play allowed. And of course, the big story for the Broncos this season is their offense. Oh my God, it's been ugly, but I don't think it is sustainable. Denver now last overall in points per game, despite ranking 16th in yards per play. So most of the scoring issues are due in large part to an inability to convert in the red zone, where they're converting at a league worst 21.43%. I don't think that's sustainable. To put into perspective how bad that is, the Giants were last in red zone TD conversion percentage last season at 44.74%. So more than double that of the Broncos right now. And finally, this Chargers team cannot be trusted. A different Chargers team shows up each and every week. 1 week, they're hanging with the Chiefs. The next week, they're getting destroyed at home versus the Jaguars. And also, they've been bad at closing, too. 26 and fourth quarter points. So, hey, if it takes a backdoor cover, I will absolutely take it for this game tonight. So, give me the Broncos as an underdog tonight on Monday Night Football. Okay, let's take a trip to Prop City. Anytime touchdown scores. G-Dog, who's your first bet here for tonight?
For sure, yeah. And I was going to say, with you getting that number at 4.5, it just reeks of a backdoor cover, especially with just like the way that the Broncos play. I think they're going to be anemic offensively, but I do like a touchdown score on the Broncos side. And it's going to be Melvin Gordon. Now, he was a little limited in practice this week. I do think he is still going to play. It's not really a sexy pick, but it is somebody that we know what we're going to get. Like, he has 10 red zone carries this season, 2 red zone targets. He's clearly going to be the preferred back over a Mike Boone or a Latavius Murray, who just got signed off the street. But the Chargers run defense, that's the reason why we got to look at Melvin Gordon. Just been abysmal this year. 8 touchdowns to running backs allowed. That's 31st in the NFL. Now, Melvin Gordon has had a little bit of ball security issues, and if he could just hang on to it, maybe stop fumbling, it's a great price for a running back 1 in this spot. So I like Melvin Gordon to get into the end zone at plus 160.
Okay, what about on the other side of things here for the Chargers? Who are you looking at to penetrate the end zone for them?
Yeah, there's no Mo Alley Cox on this offense here, but there is a tight end that I do like for the Chargers, and that is Gerald Everett at plus 250. And normally when the Chargers are playing in a primetime game like this where I'm looking at their offense, I'm always kind of trying to see where I can get the best value for Chargers wide receivers. But honestly, I don't think you could play them in this spot. The Broncos secondary has just been really tough. Like only one touchdown to a wide receiver this season. They rank first in yards allowed to the position. And where the Broncos have been just a little bit vulnerable, though, is over the middle. 2 touchdowns allowed to tight ends this season. And Gerald Everett been fairly solid in Charger Blue. He's got 2 touchdowns this year, but I do like the fact that he has more targets than both Josh Palmer or DeAndre Carter. So I do think Gerald Everett is the best bet to make on the Chargers side to score a touchdown.
All right. So what about, a little bit more of a long shot here? There's nothing like hitting a big long shot touchdown score prop. Is there anyone you have on your radar? I'm setting you up for this. So yes, we had a pre-show meeting and I know there is. So what are you looking at?
Hey, just because the alley-oop is predetermined doesn't mean I still don't have to flush it, right? So, all right,
Yes,
so
sir.
long shot for me is I'm going to take Justin Herbert to score a touchdown because I was able to get his odds at plus 750. Like he's around plus 500 or lower everywhere else. So I think it's a good spot to take him in this spot where you were able to get it at over plus 700. And as I alluded to earlier, just the Broncos pass defense been really tough to beat. But they're middle of the pack stopping the run. Deion Jackson did fairly well against them last week. Josh Jacobs, just a little over a week ago, ran all over them. Now, Justin Herbert, he has a little bit of a rib injury, but I think he's starting to recover from that. He's been practicing fully pretty much since that Jaguars game. And I think if the Chargers get into the red zone, I think Herbert's going to be put in a position where he's going to have to tuck and run because the Broncos secondary, they're able to cover up and make up for mistakes so well that they're going to probably put Herbert in a spot where he's going to be back down on 3rd down and then just have to take off and run. So Herbert at plus 750 is my long shot bet for Broncos Chargers.
All right. I hope Herbert gets in, and I hope the Chargers win 7-3. And then that way you would hit your long shot, and I would hit my spread. So we each walk away with a profit. Okay. From the Monday Night Football field to the Major League Baseball diamond, we got a deciding game in New York City. The Guardians in town, of course, game 5 tonight. And who am I going to take in this one? I am on the dog. Indeed, I'm going to take a shot on the Guardians plus 138 for a couple of key reasons here. First and foremost, much better pitching depth for the Guardians. Savale versus Tyon. Not exactly a stud starting pitching matchup, and I don't think anyone expects either guys to rack up 100 pitches. So bullpens will be extremely important here, as they've been throughout the series. You take a look at the Guardians bullpen in the playoffs, a 0.70 ERA with a 0.66 whip. That's much better than the Yankees, who come in at 3.55 in terms of ERA and a 1.18 whip. So surely the Yankees hitting must be better, though, right? Not so fast. Sure, in the bigger sample size it is, but lately it is not. It's been a rough series for Yankees hitters. Guardians do rank higher in OPS. Yankees hitting just 177 in the series so far. And the mentality of both of these teams. So nothing to lose for the Guardians at all. But of course, the weight of the world is on the Yankees' shoulders here tonight. The last time the Yankees played at Yankee Stadium, Aaron Judge was getting booed off the field from his home crowd. We watched Aaron Boone butcher some bullpen decisions on Saturday night. You know, we've seen the Yankees flop time and time again in a big spot. So this team is going to be tight. Meanwhile, the Guardians with nothing to lose, so they will not lose. Take the Guardians to move on if you would like to at plus 138. Next up, we move to the NHL, where G-Dog, I don't know if this news has made it over to you and your coworkers at the Action Network, but I'm 2-0 in the NHL season so far. So slowly taking over the sports betting world, my NHL betting. We're going to look to get to 3-0 this season. And I got a nice dog. I am on the Red Wings plus 106 at home with the LA Kings in town. So the never-ending rebuild for the Detroit Red Wings finally might be over. They spent a lot of money in the offseason, and they've come out absolutely flying, starting 2-0, outscoring their opponents 8-2. So a very impressive start for them. The same cannot be said for the LA Kings. 14 goals allowed in 3 games for them, near the bottom of the league, and expected goals allowed and high danger chances allowed. Big edge in net for Detroit in this one. Husso was lights out in his Red Wings debut there on Friday. Shut out Montreal, stopping all 29 shots. Expect this to be a big breakout season for Husso, who split time in net with the St. Louis Blues last season. So a nice stop. Detroit Red Wings plus 106. So there you have it. 6 total picks from G-Dog and I. If you're looking for a place to place these bets at, or if you would like to fade them for some reason, you're more than welcome to do so. But I recommend placing these over at BetMGM. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Kick off the new pro football season with the King Sportsbook. Sign up with BetMGM using bonus code VIBONUS. Your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. That's VI bonus. All one word, no spaces, and your first wager is risk-free to $1,000. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 or older. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Yeah, baby. So you saw Jamie Foxx on the ad there, G-Dog?
I did.
Your favorite Jamie Foxx piece of media? Because we know he's pretty well rounded with the acting, the music, the stand-up comedy back in the day.
I think the musical impressions that he would do on Jimmy Fallon are pretty good. But I think what BetMGM should do as an ultimate promo is give a 1 in 100 chance to do a meet and greet with Jamie Foxx at like the Super Bowl or something like that. I feel like that would be way more of an incentive to want to sign up than a betting bonus. But that's just me. But I would love to meet Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Jamie Foxx on the show. I haven't heard back from him yet, though.
Are you shooting Ray too?
It's kind of rude. It's kind of rude. Moving on. The NBA season starts tomorrow. Holy shit, things are stacking up on us here in the sports world. It's a great time to be a sports fan, a great time to be a sports bettor. So let's take a quick look at things in the NBA. And G-Dog, let's get right to it. Who's your pick to win the NBA Finals, and who are they beating?
Wow. Okay, so for me, this one's pretty chalky. So I'm not going to really go off on a limb here, especially with the NBA. I think it's going to be Bucks over Clippers. I think the Bucks are in a pretty solid spot. I know Chris Middleton is probably going to miss the opening couple of weeks that was just announced this morning, but I don't think it's going to really matter. I think Giannis is still the best player in the world, so I think he can still do enough to be able to carry them to the finals. I mean, I would still argue that they were better than the Boston Celtics, but that's just me, and I'm not in Boston. I'm sure anybody in Boston would tell me that I'm completely wrong, but I know how terrified they were of Giannis Antetokounmpo, and if Chris Middleton was there, I think they would have beaten the Celtics, but that's just me. But again, as well, I think the Philadelphia Sixers will pose a nice little problem this year, but I do think the Bucks are just a smidge better. In the Western Conference, a little bit more of a crapshoot. I'm not really sure if I can really back the Warriors right now, just with that, that fissure that's kind of happening with Draymond Green. And then, of course, the Suns, after what we watched, that collapse of last year, I don't even want to hear about the Lakers. The Nuggets, I would give a little bit of credence to, but again, it really depends of whether or not Michael Porter Jr. is going to actually be healthy enough to play the entire year. Same thing as Jamal Murray. So right now, looking at a team that had both of their stars pretty much out. I mean, Kawhi Leonard was out for pretty much the entire year last year, and Paul George missed big chunks of time. And they still finished just above 500. So you put those two guys in that lineup where you have legitimately a 10 deep roster. I think the Clippers are the most deep team in the Western Conference. And then in the East, I'm kind of just banking on the best player, who I think is Giannis. So I think I'm going to see a Bucks Clippers final, Bucks in 6.
Yeah, I am aligned with you there, halfway at least. I'm taking the Bucks to beat the Warriors in the NBA Finals. It's a combination of pretty good value on the Bucks, I think. A lot of places have them behind both the Celtics and the Nets in the Eastern Conference, which I do not agree with. And yeah, they're going to have the best player on the court as long as Giannis stays healthy. Meanwhile, you take a look at the Golden State Warriors. If Draymond can avoid punching out Steph Curry, I think they'll be okay. Pretty good, just amazing depth though there with them getting Poole and Wiggins locked up long term again. I think Klay Thompson will be able to make a little bit of a better contribution than he did last season, where he was injured for most of the season. And the thing I like about these teams, G-Dog, is they really know how to navigate the regular season. You know how I feel about, the load management and rest. It is complete bullshit. It is the least fan-friendly thing in all of sports. but I hate to admit, it's smart. If you're trying to win a championship, you're probably going to see the Clippers take advantage of that too. So, what I mean by navigating the regular season, we saw with the Warriors last season where you had Draymond and Steph Curry each miss a significant amount of time. I think they hold these guys out a little bit longer than they need to when they're injured. Establish themselves within the regular season to ensure that you're going to get into the playoffs. Hopefully, have home court for a round or two. And you've seen this with the Bucks a little bit too. When they first kind of broke out, they used to go keep their foot on the gas for the entirety of the regular season. Not so much anymore, though. So yeah, I like the Bucks to get back. I liked them last season, but Chris Middleton was down. The Celtics still need 7 games to beat them. So one team I want to get your opinion on here coming into the season. I don't think any team has a higher ceiling or a lower floor than the Brooklyn Nets. So what's your outlook? Is it going to be a complete disaster? Is this team, going to keep the drama to a minimum and maybe make a little bit of noise in the playoffs?
I mean, they are the on paper team, right? Like on paper, they should win 55 to 60 games. I'm just not sure about the temperament of this entire team. Like Durant, obviously, we saw his entire offseason where he just basically was demanding a trade, demanding people to be fired. Kyrie, I'm not sure if you can commit to whether or not he wants to be on the court. Same thing with Ben Simmons. But they do have some depth. The big thing about the Nets is just size. Like they don't really have that traditional center or even just a forward where they would feel comfortable being able to put him out there against like the likes of a Robert Williams or Embiid, or even just trying to challenge Giannis to a lesser extent. So that's my biggest issue. Offensively, they're going to put up points. Like that's really what they're designed to do. So with the Nets, I mean, here's the deal with the Nets. Like when that whole offseason drama was going on, you were able to get their NBA Finals outright odds probably around like plus 2,000. Then once basically Kevin Durant and Joe Tsai, they kind of made up, and then Ben Simmons says that he was going to play, you immediately saw the odds drop down to 8-1. I don't like them at 8-1. Obviously, anybody who is shrewd enough to be able to get them around the 20-1 mark, again, that's pretty good value when you have a team with Kevin Durant. But right now, just the volatility of this team, I think that's the word that you would probably use to describe the Nets is volatility. I just can't trust them based on where sportsbooks are putting them to win the NBA Finals.
Yeah, too many red flags for me. I mean, what are they, 5th or 4th on the odds board to win the NBA Finals? You want to put a bet on that team with all those red flags? No, thank you. I can't do that. I like that they kind of, after bending over for 3 years to KD and Kyrie, they kind of took a bit of a stand here in the offseason. KD comes out and, hey, I'd like to be traded to the Phoenix Suns or Miami Heat. They're like, no, fuck you. We're not trading you for, a bunch of spare parts and second-round draft picks. Screw that. So I do like that they stood up for themselves, but I can't put a dime on that team. So overall,
the one thing, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the one thing we were talking just a second ago about load management. And load management for me, I don't really have as much of an issue with contending teams. The NBA championship is the goal. Obviously, I wish that you would take the regular season seriously, but it's when people like teams like the Utah Jazz or the San Antonio Spurs, like you just signed Colin Sexton to that big deal. I guarantee that you're going to see load management by him at the end of the year when that team only has like 20 wins. That's when I get a little annoyed where it's like, okay, I get that Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Anderson, or Henderson rather, they're going to be amazing players, but you are not guaranteed a top first or second pick just by tanking. And it's out of control. And that's the part where I get annoyed with the load management of like, what are you managing? Like you're managing your draft status, not your ability to win the championship. And that's the part where I get annoyed. When I see like Kawhi Leonard coming off a big knee injury where he might only play 55 to 60 games, I'm like, I mean, I'm a Raptors fan, so he earned it. You know what I mean? So it's like you could just take like a little bit of a break here or there. It's the guys that are like under 25 that I just don't understand that load management stuff, especially for tanking teams.
Yeah, the race to the bottom is getting a little out of control. You've seen it with the OKC Thunder. SGA, are they going to shut him down again? Like a couple of weeks after the All-Star break. What was that? And can that team really tank again? Like they've just been doing because they've lost Chet now for the entire season. So maybe they have an excuse to say, what's one more year of tanking? But I don't like it from this perspective. I don't like it from the perspective of, okay, the Golden State Warriors are on a East Coast road trip and they're playing down in Orlando. and the working class guy saves up money to
Yeah.
bring his kids to see Steph Curry play the Orlando Magic, and Steph Curry is sitting out due to rest. You need
Yeah, but
rest,
dude,
guys. You
but dude,
shouldn't be
we're
playing
old.
82
Like
games.
we remember the NBA in the 90s and the 2000s. We're old. Like the demographic now who mainly watches NBA is 25 and under, and that's all they know is load management. And
Yeah.
so I get that. Like I'm completely of that mindset. But again, it's the same thing. Like no different than in baseball, where you never see a guy do a complete game anymore, or do a full 9 innings anymore, just because the analytics are there, and we have the data that shows now that if you overuse these guys, they will break down. So I'm kind of conflicted about it. It's just for me, championship teams, I'm okay with it. Tanking teams, get out of my face with it.
Yeah, I just overall, I would love to see less games. If the NBA eliminated every single back to back, I think that would put the regular season at around 68, 70 games for each team, which there's too many games as there is in every single sport, especially baseball. 162. Are you kidding me? Okay, so league wide, big picture. Any breakout players or teams that might surprise us here this season?
I mean, the two teams that are pretty public are the New Orleans Pelicans and the Detroit Pistons. Now, the Pistons, I'm going to probably die on Pistons Island because but the thing is, there's going to be a lot of people who join me because the Pistons are one of the most bet teams to make the playoffs this year at around plus 900, plus 1,000, plus 800, depending on the sports book that you shop. But right now, the one thing that is interesting is just they are the Pistons aren't really a team offensively that is going to scare anybody, but I'm just believing in Cade Cunningham and that leap that I think that they can get into, the play-in spot and maybe shock some teams. I feel like at plus 1,000, I'm willing to take a spot on it. But the one bet that I really do like, and I just think that he's going to be able to put up numbers in this spot, is Zion Williamson to win MVP. I was able to get that at 40-1. Now it's down to about 25-1, maybe plus 2,000, depending on the book as well. But at the same time, you really have to consider what a dominant force this guy is going to be, especially in this offense now with CJ McCollum and Herb Jones to be able to play a little bit more perimeter defense. Brandon Ingram is also starting to come into his own as well. They just have a lot of good pieces. And in that Western Conference, I feel like they could probably get a 6 seed or a 5 seed if they win over 50 games and Zion is averaging, 30 points per game. He's going to be right up there in MVP discussion. So I'm willing to take a bet on him at those odds.
There you go, big Herb Jones fan,
Oh,
a
yeah.
resident Herb Jones fan here at chasing that paper. G Dog, and good of Zion to show up in shape this season. By the way, that's nice to see for a professional athlete. But I cannot wait to pound his over on his points and rebounds prop. That made me a killing a couple seasons ago because he missed all of last season. So very quickly, I'm going to have best bets for NBA tomorrow on tomorrow's Chasing That Paper, obviously. But any leans or anything you're looking at for opening night in the NBA, we got Celtics, Sixers, and Warriors, Lakers.
Celtics Sixers is the only one that I've looked at so far, Joe. And Jason Tatum double double at plus 300 is really standing out to me right now. In 3 or 4 games last year, he had a double double against the Sixers team. A little bit of a different Sixers team ever since they got James Harden as well. So, and with PJ Tucker there. So I imagine he's going to be facing up on Tatum for most of the game. But I just like that spot, especially with Robert Williams not going to be playing and Al Horford just being almost 40 now. I just think that Tatum is going to have to play a little bit more, should put him in some better spots to be able to get rebounds. And I know that a lot of people are going to be looking at Tyrese Maxey as well. He's a guy that a lot of people are pegging for most improved player. His 3-point line, I remember last year, Joe, we used to bet it all the time where it was always set at 1.5 and maybe minus
awesome.
110, minus 120 on the overs on that. We were just cashing it consistently. And well, they've adjusted now. They put it up to 2.5. But right now I'm seeing it at plus money, plus 130 to plus 140 range to have 3 threes. I'm kind of wondering if this Celtics team, just with everything that went on in the offseason, if maybe their defense isn't going to carry over for maybe game one, where maybe Maxey could be able to take advantage of this. And if he was to hit 3 threes on this team, for example, you're probably not going to see plus odds very often anymore going forward for him to have that many threes. So Tyrese Maxey to get 3 threes against the Celtics and Jason Tatum for a double-double at plus 300 were the first two that stood out to me.
You know why I love the 3-point prop? It's because they're more likely to hit earlier in the game than the full point prop, if you know what I mean. Because I've hit so many 3-point props right in the first quarter. Meanwhile, in the NBA, it seems like there's a handful of games every single night, whether it be to a blowout, foul trouble, whatever the issue might be, where the player might not necessarily finish the game. So that's why I like looking at those 3-point props, and
And I
I've been
will,
looking at
yeah.
them all season.
I was going to say, Joe, the only thing that I would say is just be careful with the rebound props. If you're out there, I found I've seen a lot of people just get burned with like the team rebound, like, or the stat correction after the game. And that drives me crazy. Like, whereas with assists, it's pretty obvious who assisted, points. It's pretty obvious if the ball goes in. Whereas stat makers, a lot of the time, like when they're logging it, sometimes they'll just attribute a rebound to another guy and that'll, crush your bet. So just keep that in mind. It's okay to bet rebound props. Just be mindful of that in comparison to points, assists, or whatever other market you're looking at.
Yeah, I would also encourage people to keep an open mind to under player props in the NBA. Like I say, this is true for every single league, but especially the NBA. The game is guaranteed to finish, but the player is not guaranteed to finish the game. I had a situation last year. I had 3 separate player point total props. Bradley Beal, I think it was Devin Booker, and Kyle Lowry. Bradley Beal was 1 point away from going over. He fouled out in the 3rd quarter. I think it was the first time all season and only time he fouled out of a game. I had Kyle Lowry. He got kicked out of the fucking game. And he was like a point or 2 from going over. And Devin Booker, it was a blowout. So he came out early. So 0-3 on those ones. So that stung quite badly. Okay, guys, if you love what we do here at Vegas Insider, you are going to want to check out the brand new Vegas Insider app. We've got up-to-date, easy-to-navigate odds for every major sport. We have all our latest shows, best bet videos, and podcasts, props, trends, features, news, all on the Vegas Insider app. Download the Vegas Insider app right now on Apple and Android. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. Okay, G-Dog, it is now time for some viewer picks. And we have another submission from my guy, Nathan. I'm going to try this. Shrek Ken Ghost. I absolutely butchered that again. And Nathan, I encourage you to reach out to me with the phonetic spelling of your last name. And I will nail it next time. But I don't mind this look he has on the Bruins tonight. Plus 119 versus Florida. Florida, 3rd and final game of a road trip to start the season before their home opener. Boston is since 2018, 6-2 as a home underdog. Wow, they've only been a home underdog 8 times in that span. And Boston won both games versus Florida last season, 4-2 and 3-2. Yeah, the Bruins on their home ice as an underdog, absolutely worth a look versus almost anyone, depending on who's in net. I don't know who's starting in net for those teams tonight, so I can't fully endorse that one. And Sean Mitchelson has 2. Herbert over 264.5 passing yards over this number in 4 of 5, and Broncos have yet to face a top-tier QB. That is true, but has Herbert faced a top-tier defense yet? I don't know about that. Pretty good pass rush there on that one. Any thoughts on Herbert tonight, G-Dog?
I don't love it just because he is right that Herbert has done that. But the Broncos have made some guys look really pedestrian this year. I feel like he could still get to about 260, maybe 250, but I feel like it's going to be razor sharp. Whereas with when I'm betting kind of an over on a yardage prop like that, I almost like want it to be where I know that he's going to probably get to 300 yards or more against this defense. I'm not in love with it, but at the same time, a couple deep bombs at home, you could very well get that. So take a look.
Okay, and Sean Mitchelson also has, I do like this one, Aaron Savale under 3.5 strikeouts, minus 115. He points out that he got his ass kicked versus the Yankees this season. He allowed 10 earned runs. But the reason why I like this the most is expect a quick leash in an elimination game. Like I said in my breakdown of the game where I picked the Guardians, yeah, I don't expect either starter to go deep into this game. I think the goal would be maybe if you can get 3 innings out of Savali where he doesn't get absolutely murdered, I think that's going to be a big win for the Guardians. But yeah, they're going to look to empty the bullpen. I think you're going to see maybe Shane Bieber come out of there tonight, maybe McKenzie for an inning or 2. So yeah, absolutely. Gee, I don't know if you have any opinions on that game as a whole, or what we've seen in Major League Baseball, the playoffs so far this season.
Well, the Mariners pretty much ruined whatever enthusiasm I had for the playoffs because, as people may not know, but we're both Blue Jays fans, and I'm not sure if it was the Mariners who did it or if just overall just the team just not performing. So I just once that happened, I was like pretty much anybody but the Yankees, and I'll be okay with it.
Yeah, I get a kick out of people making excuses and blaming the playoff format for the Dodgers flopping yet again. This is a team. Hey, Dodgers, congratulations on winning another regular season. But when the games matter most, they absolutely flop. Take a look at Clayton Kershaw. Yeah, you can't take away their 2020 World Series, but it was a bit of a gimmicky season, if we're being completely fair. And if you want to blame the fact on, hey, they got to buy, if they're using the fact that they got to buy as an excuse, they're not. Some of their fans might be. I think that's absolute bullshit. A buy should help a team. And if you're going to get rusty because of that, did Kershaw stink because he had a couple extra days of rest? I don't think so. So, yeah, it's all about getting into the tournament. It's not about how you did in the regular season. It'd be nice for the Dodgers if they could beat up on the Diamondbacks and Rockies playoffs, but that is not the case. So Padres and Phillies, I kind of like that series. Something a little different there in the National League. All right, guys, it is now time for today's handicapper heat check presented by VegasInsider.com, your home for the best expert picks in the business since 1997. Today we recognize Kevin Thomas, who can be found on Twitter at KevinThomas04. Kevin is on a 7-1 NFL win streak, bringing his record to 21-13 on the season. Save $10 on Kevin's Monday Night Football best bet by clicking on the link in the description below. The $10 discount will be applied during checkout. That's your handicapper heat check. Stay hot, betters. Woo! All right. We're wrapping up week 6 of the NFL season here tonight, G-Dog. But week 7, it's actually a really, I don't know if you've looked into the games yet, but it's maybe the worst slate we're going to see all season. It is quite weak. We do have a game between the Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers. Outside of that, it's quite ugly. But tell the viewers of the show who might not be familiar with you where they can find you and what they can expect from you leading up to week 7.
Sure. So you can follow me on Twitter at GDog5000. If you download the Action Network app, you could find my username there at GDog5000. You'll be able to get all of my NFL picks as soon as I post them. And what I do every week is on Sundays, I host a program called The Touchdown Show, which is at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and Twitter, where I give out my best touchdown bets along with my co-host, Dr. Nick Giffen. And then, of course, I'll be doing touchdown videos and content for pretty much every primetime game. I've got a video coming out here shortly for tonight's game, and then I'll have another one for Thursday night for Cardinals and Saints. And, of course, we do Action Island on Thursdays. We show up we do Action Network podcast, where last night I did the recap of basically week 6. So that comes out every Monday morning, and we'll have some best bets on the Action podcast later this week as well. So make sure to subscribe to that.
Yes, sir, my man, absolutely crushing it out here. Over here at Vegas Insider, make sure you're following Vegas Insider on Twitter or Twitter Spaces tonight ahead of kickoff for the Monday Night Football game. And about an hour before kick, a lot of our personalities will be on there giving out their best bets for the game. Of course, you're going to want to tune into Chasing That Paper tomorrow. I think I'm flying solo tomorrow, and it is going to be a show where we're covering a little bit of everything except for football, oddly enough, because it is kickoff of the NBA regular season. We're going to have some hockey. We're going to have some NLCS action as well. So G-Dog, 33 minutes in. What a great show. We're going to wrap things up right now. We covered football. We covered baseball. We covered basketball. We cover hockey. Now we will send you on your way, and we will say good luck with your picks tonight unless you are fading us. And as always, keep chasing that paper. Woo!